Along this stretch of the garden, I have a couple of different plants that I'm using as continuity creators. I'll walk down this way so you can kind of look at it from one direction, and then we will walk back, and I'm going to show you some of the plants that are good examples of types of plants that you can use for knitting your garden together. So this is my side yard garden. It's on the south side of my house. It's in the area that used to be my driveway. And so that gives you a good overview. But now we're gonna, and I'll just kind of pan here a little bit so you can kind of get a sense of the space and all the various plants. But now I'm gonna go down and we're gonna look down on the ground plane and talk about this idea of plants that bind, plants that are small and lead your eye through the garden on the basis of color or texture or some repeated element. So you'll see this again and again in my garden, kind of pools of yellow that are, there's one, down the way we've got another one. Okay, these two plants look and behave in very similar ways. They're different plants. This is Sedum Ogon, and I just planted that this year, so it will ultimately kind of cover more of the ground there. And then back there, that was a little, oh gosh, I'll have to look up the name to be 100% certain, but it's a baby's tears, which is, and I can't remember the botanical name. It's a shade lover, consistent moisture, and really you need to grow it in a very controlled spot, because if it really likes what you have going on, it might get a little bit too rambunctious. But I have it just one place in my garden, and it's right there, and I'm watching it really closely. But so there, then we keep going along, and we do have more pools of yellow right here. Got a carex. So these are different plants. And then another dwarf. This one also was just planted. That's a hosta that I selected for its golden yellow. Got little heucheras there, also very yellow. A low-growing shrub. That's a Linicera brilani. Another pool of yellow is this Ceanothus. And another pool of yellow right down here. So that's just in this section of the garden. And so let's turn around, let's look at that again. And you can just, now that you know that they're there, you can kind of just see the pools of yellow along the front of the garden that continue all the way through. I've also done something similar with pools of blue foliage, right? And I'm not going to walk all the way through on that, but I've repeated this plant multiple times through here. And I have repeated this plant multiple times through here. Each of those plants is quite small and can be, some plants you can only fit one, right? So I'm only going to have one of those Ceanothus shrubs, that big guy right here. I'm only going to have one of that shrub that I have on the fence line, and so on and so forth. But I can have multiple of these plants, and that's where you get the cohesiveness. That's where you get the unity. That's where you get the ability, even a small garden, to have a lot of repetition. And in a collector's garden where you're growing lots and lots of different plants, it's what allows you to kind of bring a sense of order. So I hope that explanation was helpful, and that the closer look it's always fun to pull back and look at the garden in its entirety. But unlocking some of the mysteries behind what's actually going on, that could be fun too. So we didn't look at every continuity plant that's in there that I consider to be kind of a continuity creator. But I hope by looking at a few of the examples that we did point out, that helped. And again, sometimes it's the same plant, as in that grass, that bronzy grass, it's the same plant repeated through there. And in the heuchera there, which we didn't look the first time through, but it's the same plant. And if we looked here, you can see I've got about 3 of them going down there. But other times it's different plants creating the same effect. So those pools of yellow that kind of go, that are different plants and repeated down the line. So there you have it. Hope that was helpful. Further explanation of this idea of continuity creators.